Yo, favorite podcaster of all time, the greatest one to ever do it and will ever be able to do it. Apex Sapien. Listen, brother, raise the stakes, man. Raise the stakes. Hunt bigger game, better game. So you know what allowed the evolution in man to like grow into what we are today was our ability to realize that if we risk more, we gain more. The more you're willing to risk, the higher the bounty or the higher the booty, and the more you can be able to spread your time period that you get to actually rest and relax and be able to think more. See, too often we worry about small game, and the problem with small game is for the energy that you expend, you're typically not going to get that much bang for your buck. But by allowing yourself to plan and have foresight and to think ahead in the future, you grant yourself the ability to be able to hunt bigger missions, get more reward for your return on investment. And so you find this within finance all the time. You're not going to make $1 million overnight. It doesn't happen. And if you do, it's kind of the lottery, something extremely lucky. But what you can do is you can plan for the long term of your life. If you plan to make $1 million over a year, you have a higher probability that happen than you have to plan on making $1 million over like a day or two. If you plan on making $1 million over 10 years, you have a much higher probability, and so forth and so forth. So the longer you can extend your time period, whatever you're trying to accomplish for your goal, the higher the probability that it's likely going to come true. And this is why you got to plan your life. You got to actually have like goals and dreams and things that you can mark that show that you're actually making progress towards that particular goal. And see, this is why so many humans have trouble in life, because we think so small term and so short term. By thinking so short term and so small, you don't get much done. You're not going to be able to accomplish much. It's like hunting a rabbit. You can hunt rabbits, but guess what, man? The amount of energy and time it takes to hunt the rabbit is not going to be as great as it would be if you hunt a buffalo. And that's what man was able to figure out. If we can figure out how to take down this larger, bigger prey, we're going to have more food for a longer period of time, more resources, which gives us more time to plan our next hunt. But if we just keep hunting rabbits and picking berries and eating fucking rats and shit, we're always going to be hungry. We're always going to be fucking in low, like we're always going to be in a lower state of being. And so as a man, you have to realize that your life is like, you might have a job currently, and that job is good. It covers your bills, take care of what you need to take care of for now. But in the long term of your life, it's not going to be able to cover the spread for what you need as you enter retirement age, as you get into your senile and old years. So while you're young, you're active, you got all your health and all your facilities in order, use that time and energy to build so when you get older, you're kind of just cruising. And see, that's such a hard thing for most young people to understand. It's because like you never got taught that, and that is a low mark on humanity, or just other men not taking the time to actually teach young guys that, hey, look, man, you gotta have a plan for your life and desired outcomes. Like if you want to get married and be a husband and a father and have this great home, you gotta plan that shit out. You gotta put yourself in a position to be a husband. You don't just get married and figure out how to be a husband. It doesn't work that way. You become a husband first. You become a marriage-minded man who has long-term outcomes and plans for a family before you actually have the family. And see, so often in our Western world, we do things ass backwards, and then we expect to have fucking forward cheeks results, and that's what puts us in a bad predicament that we're in today. A lot of our like problems that we have in America today is simply because people didn't think long term. They thought, well, shit, we'll bring in low workers or immigrants to come do low little scapered jobs instead of having like Americans and teaching them, okay, do this job, and then as you grow and progress, you'll be able to eventually make a business and build it for yourself. But we took the cheap way because we wanted cheap labor. And because we got cheap labor and people look to have like bigger profits, the downside is our economy is essentially built on outsourced work. And what happens when those workers stop working for us? Or what happens when those workers decide to go empower their own country with our finances? Now we have a long-term problem because now we don't have any skilled laborers in America. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys are feeling it. If you don't have a handyman, or if you have to call an electrician or plumber, it's out the fucking wazoo for the payments you're making. And so we have to start to really think, even with like the sexual revolution where we say free love and free sex. Well, yeah, that's good for the short term. But long term, what costs us is our society, our community, love. We don't have families. We have a lower birth population. We're like dumb and poor people are only people having a bunch of kids, and the richer people and people who have the income are not having kids out of fear, like the cost of having children. And that was all because of free love. So instead of building family units, we have a bunch of individual people living by themselves, and our economy can't sustain that. It's not sustained. Men and women are not meant to live alone. Especially women are not meant to live by themselves, and men are not meant to be by themselves forever. We are meant to get together, have families, build family units, build communities. But because we have short-term thinking, we think in small little microseconds instead of thinking over the overall picture of what our lives are going to look like. You end up with very poor outcomes. And if you don't want to have poor outcomes, start thinking longer. Like a wise man once told me, there's two types of people in this world. There's people who know what they're going to do every single day, but don't know what their life is going to turn out to be. And then there's people who don't know what they're going to do every day, but they know exactly where their life is going. And so you want to be in the latter. You want to be out there taking risks, going to the unknown, going to fear, because that's where the rewards are. One of the things you first got to learn to stomach as an entrepreneur is that you got to deal with the anxiety of not knowing. Not knowing is actually the greatest aspect of being an entrepreneur. And once you're able to embrace that darkness, that fear, that unknown, and you become accustomed to it, and as a matter of fact, you start to build like a appetite for it, a taste for it, it's impossible to go back once you have that autonomy about your life and the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it. But see, most people can't handle freedom because freedom comes at a great price, which is peace and relaxation and comfortability. If you want to be free, you're not going to be comfortable. That's a trade-off, because you know what freedom requires you to do? It requires you to think and work for yourself. And when you're thinking and working for yourself, that's a lot of strain on the mind. And if your mind's not built and equipped to be able to handle that type of stress, maybe this game is not for you. Maybe manhood's not for you. Maybe you're better off just having somebody tell you what to do for the rest of your life. And that's not good or bad. It's just simply a trade-off. But you have to understand, don't expect to have this wonderful amount of freedom and time and resources and money if you don't choose to think for yourself. If you're not willing to go out there and brave the world and go figure out things for yourself, be willing to fail, be willing to fall on your face, be willing to go bankrupt, be willing to be heartbroken. If you're not willing to take the rejection that life is going to throw at you, then bro, you might not be built for this life. Go ahead and go fill in a job application, go get a job at the post office. Now, once again, nothing's wrong with that. I'm just saying, freedom requires mental strength. It requires thinking. You got to think long. You can't just think in days. You got to think in weeks. You got to think in months. You got to think in years. And when you start to be able to accumulate that type of wisdom, when you're thinking 5 years in advance, you begin to like change as a human being because everything's forward thinking. When you look at people, you still look and you say, is this person I can utilize in the future? Is this somebody I can work with today that's going to help me get to a certain point to in the far future? And you got to start thinking about that way with women. You got to start thinking that way with your friends, associates, your parents, your siblings, everybody. Start looking at, hey, is this person that is somebody who's willing to grow and build with over time? And once you're able to like start to visualize the world and see the world as a larger vision, a larger plan, that's when you'll learn to prosper and you'll grow as a man. The same way that ancient man realized, when I use tools and we hunt these larger animals and we work together as a team, we can do more as opposed to me just going around picking berries and scavenging rabbits and shit. So I hope that helps. If you need some help or need some more wisdom, please book a consultation at apexsapien.com. Link is inside the top of the little banner for the webpage. I'm looking to help young people and even older people. People are trying to get their life together. Because listen, life is hard. And sometimes we need some wise counsel, somebody to help us out, to give us a little bit of direction to where we need to go. Because remember, man, this is the beauty of the interwebs. We're not all alone. We got friends, we got companions, you got people you could talk to. For the first time in human history, you can speak with the great minds of today literally by clicking a couple buttons on the screen. So go ahead and enjoy life, brothers.